Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Namibia Scientific Society. For those of you who are joining us for the third talk in this series, very welcome back. Is there anyone that is joining us for the first time with this specific series? Welcome to you. And also welcome to our viewers on Zoom. You are also very welcome, although you are not with us. Thank you for joining in any way. A few housekeeping rules. We have a donation bar there at the back, so if you are thirsty, please go and get yourself a drink. Our bathrooms are around the corner here to your right, and then you turn left, then you can't really miss them. And then afterwards, you are welcome to also stay for a drink and chat to our presenter. I think I'm going to do what Ruth always does and just pass the ball to you to introduce yourself, because you can do that a lot better than we can. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Natasha. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to those who are new. The title of my talk is wrong, so sorry about that. It's meant to be about email security and accounts, so we'll fix that as we go along. This is one of my more favorite topics. Hello, Zoom. I forgot to say hello to you. This is one of my more favorite topics for various reasons. The most important one is I don't think there's anybody that exists on this planet Earth that doesn't have an email address. I even met a Bushman a while ago who had an email address. So I think everybody has an email address, and then the second thing that they have in their lives is a cell phone. So I bring you this evening's presentation in terms of Intelligence Hour 1. It's my international business, and then I am the country manager for Rix Forensica. We do forensic investigations in Namibia. And then just as a program series as to where we're going, we've done the first two. This is the third one, as Natasha said. Email accounts. The next talk is very interesting as well. It's about building an awareness culture. There we go into a lot of browsers, what you do when you're online. Tonight we'll touch on some of that. And then common mistakes, ransomware, and incident response will be the second last one. And the last one we're going to build up to the sort of, as the Afrikaner will say, the thriller story, or the thriller story in English. And that's where we're going to go into the real stuff as to what hackers do. And we're going to have a look a little bit on the dark web, what they do. So we'll do that live. So we want to build up to that. And then all these talks are preventative measures or mainly preventative measures to avoid ourselves getting onto the dark web. Okay, as I say, and those that have been to my previous talks have seen this email because it's one of the most famous ones. It caused a lot of problems, and it dropped a Trojan on many, many servers because of a picture of an attractive lady. And it came via email. We all use email. Oh, and by the way, everything I'm going to discuss this evening, you can apply to mobile apps as well. So WhatsApp, Signal, whichever mobile apps you use, or any other mobile device, SMS, you can use the same principles. So this email arrived, and it had this picture, and the minute that they clicked on the picture, it activated. Okay, there was what we call a payload, and it deployed a virus, which in this particular case was ransomware, and it took over a number of servers and created a lot of chaos. So, let's have a look quickly. Who in this room has anything up to, let's say, 25 email accounts? Anybody? Am I the only one? Does anybody have more than 3 email accounts? There we go. Well done. Zoom, you can also put up your hands. Anybody that's got more than 5? How many people have only got 1? Okay, as of today, we're going to change that. Because why? And as I take you through this discussion, I'm going to show you that having 1 email address or email account is not a good idea. Here's why. When we go around, all these dots that are highlighting, so for a moment, picture this as the web, And as your email travels, it doesn't go like the pigeon from point A to point B or point A to point Z. It will go from point A to point Z via D, E, F, G, H, and the whole lot. And that's what we're signifying here. What you don't know is which of those points is not safe. If you think for a moment that email is a confidential form of communication, it is not. It's text. That's it. There's nothing fancy about it. I'll get into encrypted emails much later, and don't let that worry you too much in terms of technology. We've got people out there that make that a lot easier for us. The point that I'm trying to illustrate to you, anybody and everybody can read your email as it travels around the internet, and this is purely illustrating that particular journey. Can everybody see with these lights? Or do you want to switch? Okay, cool. Yeah. Better on or off? On. Okay. Or just a few lights off. Is that okay? Is that all right? So, just to illustrate that again, as the emails travel around the internet, and it does go via the internet, it doesn't have its own particular specialized travel mechanism. It goes through these various points, and as I said again, it can be read by anybody. So, this presents a couple of risks, and I'm only dealing with three. These are the main three. These are the three that create all the problems. They can be intercepted. Can I intercept your Gmail account at home? Yes, I can. Okay? It's very easy to do that. Spoofing or spoofed emails. Does anybody know what spoofed is? Masquerading. That is, we use it as spoofing is not particularly a cyber term, but the cyber community took it over. It just means masquerading as something else. So I can, and we'll show you this a little bit later, that we can present you with an email that looks like it comes from somebody that you know. Okay, we can spoof an email that looks like your bank manager. Or we can spoof an email that looks like a family member. We can spoof an email that looks like anybody that has a prominent presence in your life. And then fake emails. So emails like that previous one with the picture of the lady, that's kind of fake, but we can also fake other emails. We can do spoofing and we can fake, or a combination of those two, or singularly on their own. Okay, so you cannot trust email at face value. Dare I ask, has anybody been scammed via email? If you don't want to tell us, then don't. But we went through the Bank Windhoek scams not so long ago. Some people lost a lot of money, and some of those emails originated from what was meant to be some sort of support service. They also came via SMS, also doing masquerading, and people responded to them and gave out bank details, and the next thing their money disappeared. This is what can happen. So if you receive an email that comes from your bank manager, phone the bank manager, and make sure that whoever sent that email, it originates from the source that it supposedly does. I cannot overemphasize that. Okay. We're going to do a little exercise. Those are two what we call domains. So every email links to a domain. What is a domain? Gmail. Gmail.com is a domain. So if your name is freddyblogs@gmail.com. So the gmail.com part is the domain. Or you get freddyblogs@outlook. Outlook is the domain. So having said that, which one of those two email addresses look fake to you? The first one? Why? So anybody else? And the second one? That's an I. Okay. That's how quickly it happens. Okay. Okay, so this was used. This was a genuine scam that was used. And what they do is, that part is the domain. That's the legitimate PayPal domain. It belongs to PayPal. They get around that by registering a domain with secure. -login.com. So that when you see it, you go for it. Okay? Makes sense? So that is legit. If you've got a PayPal account, they need to know this about you, of course. They can't do this. If you don't have a PayPal account, it's going to just look silly. But if you've got a PayPal account, they know you've got a PayPal account and send you a link like this, then they add that bit to create the domain and register the domain to get you to go to that domain and put in your username. Okay? So that is the part of that domain that they use to extend it, because PayPal login exists, or used to exist. I think it's been dismantled now, but they just added in that secure bit. Okay, so before I get into the nitty-gritty, we need to deal with a really crucial thing, which we dealt with in our previous talks, is usernames. And I mentioned to you that usernames nowadays should be as unique as your own passwords. You've already got a headache with passwords, now you've got a headache with usernames. Okay, there's good news to that. We've got username generators. So, what you want to do for every online account that you have, with email addresses as well, is create random usernames. I'm going to go into a little bit more specific examples to make this a little bit easier, but generally you want to be as random as possible on one hand, maybe specific on another, but I'll show you examples of that. Avoid variations. What we often get there, let's take my own, I'm Andy F1, and then what I do occasionally, if I sign up for another account, I go Andy F101 or Andy F12. Etc., etc. Don't do that. That's bad practice. Rather, go further and try and randomize your username, or otherwise, as I'll show you later, you can use specific usernames for specific functions. And then, if you're struggling to come up with usernames, you can use a username generator. So you can generate them, they'll give you the randomness, and they're free, they're available on the internet. Everybody okay with that? We're going to go a little bit more detail in a few minutes. Okay, password reuse. We went down this road in the previous chat as well, where I asked you who has more than 100 passwords. Nobody volunteered to that. We'll try again this evening, and I'll start at a low number. It sounds like an auction. Who has more than 25 passwords? No one? Anybody? Anybody that has more than 10? Okay, we've got 1, 2. Anybody that's got more than 5? Cool. Anybody that's got more than 1? At the back there, hello back. All right. The point that you got to, and we've got password managers to do this, and there are many of them, and a lot of them are for free. The reason that we change our passwords and not roll over passwords all the time is we get a thing called breach chaining. What does breach chaining mean? Breaches are where data is leaked, your password is leaked, it's called a breach, and any account details is called a breach. And what they do is they chain them together. Because we're inclined to reuse passwords on different accounts, the hackers will take all those passwords, or whichever ones they have, take all your accounts, put it into a program and launch the program. And it'll test all those passwords against your accounts. So that's the risk you run when you keep on reusing passwords, is you get breach chaining. If you are breached, they're going to chain you. Okay, makes sense? All right, so I get scam emails regularly, very regularly. Let me just enlarge this a bit. We can see what we're doing here. Okay, so let me get rid of that. Okay. So my email program tells me that this email has an issue, it's flagged it, but that's not the important part and why I'm showing you this. It says, hello Andrew F. They know that much. And then they create an issue about the mail servers blocked 4 messages on your IMAP, SMTP, blah, 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 blah. All nice, geeky, fancy stuff to confuse you. Don't worry, it confuses me too. So what do? We panic, and it says to us, we've got 4 incoming messages pending. Stop. Let's just stop there. What is this called? What is it called in terms of what is happening here in the perpetration? Anybody want to have a go?
He's trying to get you involved.
Yes, it is trying to. So it's a form of human hacking, but there's a name for it. Social engineering. Social engineering. So that's all they're doing here, is playing with your mind, hacking into your mind, using your cyber tools against you to do something. And the ultimate thing they want you to do is click on that button that says view. And if we click on the button, this is what happens. Okay? Takes us to that. Sorry, I don't know why I've got this strange. Sorry. As you get here, it's going to disappear.
Can you try just clicking back on that? There. Nothing.
Let me just do this. Let's just start again. Sorry about that, folks. Okay. So it takes us to that. The reality of that is it's a login page. Most of us think login pages are legit. I can spend hours discussing login pages. There's so much to analyze it, believe it or not. I mean, the URL, the background, everything we can analyze, and we can show over and over again why it's fake. All I want you to understand that that's not real. So if you see that, if you've clicked on a button in an email, welcome. If you've clicked on a button in an email and it takes you to a login page like this, the important thing that you need to realize there's something wrong straight away. Don't even question it. Don't even try and analyze it. It's like having a loaded gun. Don't try and do anything. There's something wrong. Go back to the email and start there. Check if that is correct. If you don't know this and it's taking you somewhere strange and it's not something that you do regularly, then don't go any further. You put in your password there, it's going to be captured. And your password will be used against you. Does that make sense? Okay, remember what I said earlier about usernames and then being a little bit more specific. Now I'm going to get a little bit complicated purely from an administrative point of view, not from a technical point of view. So what we normally suggest over here, so I'm just going to split this table up a little bit. I love tables. Sorry about that. We have general emails, And for those general emails, we can create ourselves usernames specific to a particular domain or email account that we're going to use. Why do we do that? If something goes wrong and there's an attempted scam on you, you know the source. Okay, let's take a moment there. If you create a Gmail account and you give it a name such as Susie1, and you know you've created that account, susie1@gmail.com, and there's a breach, and then you've got other email accounts, you'll know straight away the source of the breach comes from that Gmail account. Whereas if you have Susie1 for, let's say, 5 other email addresses, you won't know which one counts for where and what purposes, but also is to get you out of trouble. If anybody gets into your system, they can't tie the two together. Okay? So you're going to start basically segregating between email addresses for different purposes. So general, we create those. Now for your social media accounts, you would register your social media account. You can still use Gmail, and I'll show you how to set up multiple Gmail addresses shortly on the same account. Bet you didn't know that. But whatever tool you use or whatever platform you use, if you create an account with a specific email address, you call it your Facebook account. And if you create one for Twitter, Pinterest, or Instagram, whatever, your username identifies what that Gmail address is used for. So it's only used for that. And if there's a breach that relates to that, it is segregated from everything else of yours. Make sense? And the same goes for your sensitive ones. So your banking, for example, and I'll show you different platforms that you can use for finance, for your investments, for your insurance. That keeps it away from, for example, webmail-based, such as Gmail, Yahoo Mail, and the rest. We'll get into that detail shortly. So you segregating between different accounts for different purposes. So it gives it a specific purpose to what you're going to do, and it goes back to the discussion we had earlier where I said who has more than 5 email accounts. The other one that you can use is what we call 3-3 mail. Now 3-3 mail we used in a lot of abuse cases between people that had a high public persona and they were being harassed or abused online or whatever the case was. We would set up a 3-3 mail. Now, what does 3-3 mail do? It's free. You have free and you also get the paid version, but the free version generally is sufficient for most of us to use. So if you've been harassed, you can set up a 3-3 mail, whatever username you want to use, and they've got a set of domains which you just select one and you use that domain, and you then give out that email address to everybody and sundry. When it arrives at 3-3 mail, 3-3 mail will then send it to your legitimate email address. So it's what we call hopping. The person sending you the email has no idea that there's another account in the background. So we're going from 3-3 mail to, for example, your Gmail account. But I'm going to show you another trick as well when it comes to that. So 3-3 mail is an option for, what did I do with my tool? For doing what we call hopping or forwarding. Fastmail is another option. If you own a business, Fastmail is definitely a very good option because not only can you use your business domain here, you can also set up your different accounts. What happens, for example, and this is purely from a cost point of view, not so much from a security point of view, if you're using any of the fancy Microsoft products and that type of thing, every time you set up a new account, you've got to pay. Whereas Fastmail, one domain, and 10,000 email addresses. So you can go to town on it, and it's fairly cost effective. Right, Gmail. Who doesn't have a Gmail address? Who? No, let me rephrase that. Who thinks Gmail security is good? Don't know. Anybody else? Who thinks Outlook, that's Microsoft's equivalent of Gmail, who thinks Outlook security is very good? Anybody? No? Who thinks Yahoo Mail has good security? I know a lot of people don't use it. Gmail's security is brilliant. Folks, you cannot get better security on Gmail. You cannot get better security on Outlook. And it's old cousin Hotmail. It's brilliant. You have zero privacy. Google knows everything about you if you use Gmail. Have you ever sat there one day, you're writing an email, you're just browsing around the net, you're using a browser such as Chrome, and the next thing this advert pops up in front of you. And you say to yourself, geez, somebody's listening to my phone calls. And you get that little thing going up your spine and it tingles and it says, somebody knows a lot about you. You with me on that one? Yeah, that's why. And when you sign up to Gmail for a Gmail account, I've just summarized it here. You agree that Google can host your email for you. It can reproduce all your information that you store on Google. You give it permission to distribute that information, communicate, and use your content. So you've signed your life away. So folks, just understand the difference. The security is brilliant. So it's like having burglar proofing and alarms and a door, but it's like allowing your neighbor to install CCTV cameras in your house and watch all your moves. Okay, so to give you an option here, in Gmail, for the purposes of what we said earlier, to be able to use one account and use different usernames in Gmail. You can create, so just from your one Gmail account, you can create as many accounts as you like, and this is how you do it. So those making notes, go into settings, and then it's accounts and import. It's very easy. We'll do it again. And then you go down to sending emails, and you add an email. And then it's over here. You can create a username for yourself. So in this case, I've just done Andrew F. I know you can't see it. And then for this case, I want to use this particular account for Facebook. So I've put in there Facebook. So it's Andrew F. Facebook at gmail.com. And then you leave it as an alias. And you click hello, doop, and then you've got another account. And we can set it to reply to all messages that come to that email account as well. And you can choose, and then you can write your emails. You now select whichever email address you want to use. Easy peasy. Make sense? So you've got one Gmail account. So you don't have to keep on buying, and you don't have to go to other platforms. I'll show you other options now, but you don't have to create all these different and get all expensive and get all cluttered up, and you have to manage this whole thing. You can do it from Gmail, so you can set yourself another account from Gmail on your existing account.
Yeah, they each have a different password.
No, it all exists off one account. So it just allows you to jump between the two different usernames. Makes sense. So it's like, I don't want to, driving a car with two different colors. It's the only analogy I can come come up with. So it's very easy. Just go to settings. From there, go to accounts and import, and then go down to send email, and then it'll take you through it. Very, very, very easy. Okay. Right. If you in any sort of sensitive business, if you're a lawyer, or actually, let me not do it by profession. Let's rather just put it down to if you've got to communicate any sensitive information, there are two options: free as well to a certain point, and then from there you have to pay for them. But if it's for personal use, and I'll talk about Proton Mail a little bit more now, the two options are Tutanata. Tutanata was invented by some hackers many, many years ago in Germany, and it is one of the highest security email services that you can get. However, it doesn't work that well if you're sending emails from Tutanata to somebody, for example, that has a Gmail account, because you lose the encryption going on its way. There are ways of doing it, but it then becomes very complicated. Proton Mail, remember I mentioned to you earlier, there's Fastmail where you can set up your domain. Proton Mail takes it another step further. Does exactly the same as Fastmail, but gives you 100% security. So you can take your domain into Proton Mail. I think the service costs $5 a month, so 60 US dollars a year. So it's not that expensive. But obviously, if you're getting higher in data storage, you will pay more. And you can have an entirely encrypted setup in Proton Mail, and it does all the technical work for you. It's also housed in Switzerland. So the advantage of that, if a subpoena arrives and the sheriff knocks on your front door and says, I want to see your email account, you just press close, and that's the end of that discussion. Because they cannot get to it. So Proton is a really, really good commercial option, which gives you a genuine email service as well. So it's not just there for the purposes of security. And for example, I know in the legal fraternity, because we've taught some of them, we taught them this, they like to send confidential correspondence to each other on their Proton Mails. The point is you can suck in your domain into Proton Mail and use the same security, which is beautiful. It's excellent. Makes sense. So these are already built. You don't have to use a lot of technology, and there are free services to a certain level. Okay, daily habits. Pause before clicking. Okay, this is the biggest problem that we have, unfortunately. So to really put it in simple terms, if somebody comes and knocks on your front door and says, I'd like to come into your house, if you don't know them, you're not going to allow them to come in. It's the same with email. If you don't know the origins of the email, if you've got busy accounts, unfortunately, you've got to apply a certain amount of logic to it and just try and see whoever's trying to email you has a place in your life or in your business that should be in that space at that given time to be able to allow them access, or allow yourself to access whatever they want you to click. Verify requests. This goes back to the banking scams, where we get these emails that say to us, your account is this and this and this, won't you log in, and you need to change your password. Okay, verify that. Pick up the phone, phone the bank manager or your contact at the bank and say, I've received this email, this is what it wants me to do I do it or not? If they say yes, let's just hypothetically say there is an inside job. Tell them to resend the email. Okay? Because you want to see it comes from the same domain again and from the same username. Multi-factor authentication, MFA. I'm going to now preach bad practice on one hand, because I don't use it for everything, and I'm going to preach it on another hand. Anything that you're using that is incredibly sensitive when it comes to email addresses, make use of MFA Make sure it sends you either a message to your phone or some other device separate from your email account where you're using your email, so normally your phone, and authenticate it through a different source. And don't reuse passwords. Okay, that's obvious. But unfortunately, like in our previous discussion, we had password, the word password 123 is still the most widely used password around the world by millions of people. So don't reuse passwords. If you're ever unsure about your email, those of you that have attended some of my previous talks will know this, is check your emails. So go to haveibeenpwned, HIBP.com, put in your email address, like in this case I've put in mine, and it tells me I'm in 12 data breaches. If you see that, don't panic, just start changing passwords and start to organize your digital life the same as you would organize your own physical life. And have a look where it's been breached. I'll run this again, just to give you an idea of how it works. It's free as well, doesn't cost you any money, but it could save you from a lot of misery. Okay, and just go back, and we'll run it again. So, have I been pwned? HIBP.com. Put in your email address, or whichever email addresses you may have. If you've got 10, do it to all 10. Do this sort of, if you can, diligently, try and do it once a month. It will then give you all the places where it's been breached, all the different accounts. So in my particular case, I had a couple on this email address, and I had to go through. City Day was a very, very big breach, that one that's going past now. Gravatar is just the one that gives you business emojis. Nitro is a document scanner, and a couple of others. And from that, some of these are very old as well. And then the Deeds Office in South Africa and LinkedIn. LinkedIn had that big data breach in 2016. And then you just go through those accounts, change your passwords, and make sure you haven't been breached anywhere else as well. And it goes back to the password reuse. Did you use different passwords in these particular accounts or the same password? You'll probably find 99% of the time. One email, several breaches, same password. Okay, there we go. That's emails and email security. Nice and simple, nice and easy. But just to sum up, the most common place to get or allow cyber criminals in your life and to be able to compromise you and just put you in a predicament. Hopefully it's not too serious. Other people have lost a lot of money because of this, or lost even worse than that. Thank you. Any questions? Natasha, have we got time? I just want to demonstrate what she's talking about. So her question was, her situation was her sister went into Gmail, Google? Yeah, Google, put a name in and some other detail, including her address, came up. And from there, it was basically a situation of some data that was lying around on the internet, if I understand it correctly. Something like that, okay. Okay. How do we get rid of that? Let's kill this. Okay. Share. Give me a second. Natasha, help. I'm fighting with Zoom. It's not allowing me to share my... wait, here we go. I think. There we go.
Just while we're waiting,
Yeah.
ask you one.
Sure.
I really enjoyed this meeting. I missed your two previous talks.
Yeah.
Am I correct in assuming that I can still get them on YouTube?
Yeah. Yeah, they're on YouTube, yeah. Okay, if we can get this to work, there's a technique known as what we call Google hacking, where you can force Google to, so what happens is Google runs around, I always say Google's the biggest and best espionage agency out there. So what Google does, it runs around the internet and collects data from all over the show. If you accidentally leak data through whatever format, then Google will index it like a library. Anybody that's worked in a library will understand what I'm talking about now. And it will then archive that data, but you can't always get to it for a number of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is advertising, because Google is trying to maximize what you search for to collect the search data to sell it on to its customers. That's how it makes its money. So what we do is, as I say, we have a technique known as Google hacking. We can force Google to look for very specific information about people, locations, and do this at some stage. Take your own street address, type it into Google without commas. So if your street address is, I'm just going to think of something, 104 Independence Avenue, Kleinwindhoek, Namibia. Don't put in any commas. Just take it just like that, type it into Google, and see what comes back. Now, this is where it's always interesting, is if your house has ever been on the market by estate agents, there's a very good chance you're going to find it. Okay, and that's where the problem comes in, is because criminals, and they're not too clever yet in Namibia, but don't let us sit back for too long and think this will never happen to us, is criminals use that data to be able to track you down, identify you. If they can associate your name to a particular address, your wealth, your status in life, your social movements, etc., they can then social engineer attack you. Make sense? Or worse, perpetrate a violent attack. But we won't go there. In the States, they call it swatting. Okay, so they set up the whole thing, and then they perpetrate a SWAT, which is normally a very violent house robbery type activity. Are we not having any joy? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so and the other way to do it is take your name. Hope you're writing this down. Take your name, type it into Google, see what comes back. You'll probably get 1 million, there we go. Yeah. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, cool. Thanks. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to work a bit backwards here. Okay, so I've put in my name, and then if we go into Google, go to Tools and have a look at the results. There's 33,000 results. pertaining to me. I'm not panicking yet because it's gone and searched, it's split that up. It's gone and searched Andrew, and it's come back with several thousand results, and it's gone and searched Fordred, and it's come back with a couple of thousand results, and then it puts the combination of the two together. Okay, that's why we've got so many search results. But let's do this, and this is what I was getting to. Oops. Unfortunately, I'm going to work the other way around. Okay, this is part of the Google hacking I was talking about. This is a very simple one. I've put my name into quotation marks, and that is an official Google hack. So I hit enter. Let's have a look at the results now. It's 2,700. So I've reduced it from 33,000 down to 2,700. So that's images, it's any text that includes me, that type of thing. Now let's take it one step further, and this is also an official Google hack. Let's see how many documents I got my name in. So I'm using a Google hack. I hope you can see this. I know it's a bit far. So my name is in quotation marks to focus Google just on Andrew Fordred. I'm now going to look for any PDF document with my name in it. So I go file type, :PDF. And there you go. There's 7 results. So those are PDF files that Google has in its index somewhere with my name in, and if it was anything embarrassing, then that's how you would find it. So take your name, put it in quotation marks, then go file type and look for any documents in your name. You can do this with Word as well.
If it is embarrassing, can you delete it?
No, I'm afraid not. So if you're looking for Word documents, you just put on DOCX. There's one. And you can also do spreadsheets, Excel, Access, and so on. Okay, I'm not in any spreadsheets, hopefully. And that's how it goes on. And there's many, many more. I mean, Google hacks go on forever. I teach them in my investigation classes to investigators and online researchers, journalists as well. And we cover a whole day just on using the search engines, not only Google, also Bing and the other search engines to find very, very specific data. You can even search by date, you can search by comments. It's huge. So if you've been exposed and there's any data on a search engine about you, this is how they're going to find it. That's just a simple way. Any other questions?
My question is, because we're focusing on the importance of having a number of different email addresses, so my question is, and then each one would have a different password. I'm just really hopeless. So what, then you have to, I mean, I tend to make notes on paper and hide them somewhere, which is kind of a bit old-fashioned. So you should be putting them in some kind of password saving position. Is that right?
Thank you. Yeah, so passwords and usernames you can put into what we call password managers. KeePass XC. I can show it to you quickly. Get this way around. Anything can happen. No, typed a load of rubbish. I don't know why we can't get the screen to work. There we go. Okay, so this one's free. It's very well designed. It's maintained by a whole security community out there. It's fully audited. You can download it onto your computer. There are YouTube videos that can show you how to work it. Just so download it. As I say, there are YouTube videos. You can just follow them. If you're stuck, give me a call. We can guide you through how to set it all up. Practice first until you understand it. Then start to store all your usernames and passwords in there, and and then you only have to remember what we call a passphrase. So, the cat jumped over the moon. No, Helen's not that. It's the cow jumped over the moon. So create one passphrase that you know for the rest of your life that only you can possibly know. So the cow jumped over the moon on the 18th of April, 1906 at 8 minutes past 7 in the morning. And that's all you remember. Everything else you can store in KeyPass. So if anybody holds a gun to your head, and as long as you don't give up that passphrase, they ain't getting into KeyPass. KeyPass has got one of the best security setups that you will find. Then, if you're not happy with that, there are many other paid versions such as Bitwarden, LastPass, and a couple of others.
Thank you, Andrew. You're suggesting that we have a number of email account names, email addresses. When I go into the tax office, they're wanting me to write down my email address. When I go to Paratus, they're wanting an email address. How do I remember which email address I use at each of the points I visit?
The most common question. Okay, that table that I showed you a little bit earlier, you follow, just set that up. General, social media, for example, or sort of orange zone where you can still play around a little bit with your email account, and then sensitive. The method that I showed you with Gmail, you can use that. So for instance, with the bank, you can put there, say you bank with FNB, you put there your Gmail account plus fnb@gmail.com, and it'll remember that. So you only use that email address for anything that relates to the bank. For insurance, you then go along and say insurance, your email address, your username, plus your insurance@gmail.com, and you only use that address for your insurance. You can get a lot fancier than that. You can, like for instance, Proton, you can set it up in there, but we're just keeping it to the basics and segregating your email functions for different purposes. That, if you get a breach on, say, for example, your banking email address, you can immediately shut it down. You can stop it. You can notify the bank, say, I've been breached, anything on my accounts currently are off limits, hold everything. And then you can rectify the situation from there. And then all your other general correspondence you can keep at whatever your Gmail account is, or whatever you're free to choose. It's that easy. Hope that answers the question. Anybody else? Anything on Zoom? Quiet? Thank you very much. Good evening. Have a good one. Thanks. Cheers.